All right. Well, for this stream, what we'll do is we'll focus on Bitcoin, S&P 500, and Ethereum. And if anybody has any other assets they do want me to take a look at afterwards, we can definitely do that if there's enough time that permits, and if if there's enough data there for me to give you a good analysis at least. I don't want to give you guys just faulty faulty information if there's not enough data there to really make a true analysis. But we'll dive into anything that you guys do want to dive into. But mainly, I just want to go over Bitcoin, S&P, and ETH. With Bitcoin, we have been seeing once again this as a push down. No matter how you look at it, either it be one, two, three, four, five, or either it would be a B into a C. The only thing that has us a little bit worried is how this leg is forming, basically. It's getting pretty extended time and it's not making a clear direction up or a clear direction down. This is pretty much the crossroads. It's 50-50 if it's going to go up or if it's just going to come back down. you know so unfortunately there's just no clear trade, and this is a time where either you could be practicing your scalps when it's just consolidating and ranging, and it's clear that, or you can just wait for the reaction that comes, wait for this reaction that comes, and then get in and come down, or wait for this reaction that comes right here, get in right here and come up with it. So the only thing that makes us now question the overall count is once again the same thing, is how long this is taking to form. So I don't really think this is a third wave that we're in, because we really want to see some really quick acceleration. We'd want to see it come down here, get a reaction, and then start coming down right away immediately. I mean, if you look at even our past wave threes, they've just accelerated. Even if we did get a 1-2-1-2 setup, which we are in, it should really have started to come down by now once it finished this move right here. Otherwise, there are a few other possibilities, which I think it's more likely that we can actually take a look at this one real quick, but I don't think it's this one. This is almost one of the same things right here, that we're in a into B into C, just like I said. But this this is just taking a long time right here, and plus if it did actually come up, like let's say it actually did come up here and completed this flat pattern that we've been looking for. It's just so extended in time compared to this A leg right here. This A leg like this compared to this potential C leg that's about to come, there is basically just they don't complement each other. This isn't a similarity at all. You can't even chalk this up to being simple into complex. There's just no way, because just how long this is forming, and if this is just to be the two, like, we're not even done with it yet. Like I said, this three is going to take a while to form, this four is going to take a while to form, and this five, it's going to be something completely entirely new. So the only thing that would make sense if we do have a pop up is basically if we're in a W, where this is a W, this was an X, where we had a corrective X, and then we're about to just come up for an A, into a B, into a C for this Y. And I'm not too sure if we will break this. I don't think so. That's the only thing I can see right here based on a local time frame of what I would expect. Because like I said, it's not very clear, because this is just taking a very long time to form compared to this one. And on Ethereum, it kind of does look like it completed a running flat. And on BNB, it also did look like it did complete a expanded flat. The only issue with this is just getting this to start impulsively to the downside. It's also not very clear. If we were to say it's starting to impulse to the downside, once again, we're not getting the push down that we're expecting. It's just continuing to stay basically inside of this range right here. It's not moving outside this range. And we do have a impulse down right here. We do have another corrective two that we can count. We can actually get another impulse one right here, and where this comes up for another two. If it does, we really do need to start seeing that push down. Otherwise, if we don't, we're probably going to see this as the A, B, C, D, E for that potential B wave that we were looking at earlier, and then come up for a C leg to complete the overall Y of that W, X, and then the Y that we were looking at earlier. So once again, this is the crossroads. If it's not clear, I mean, sometimes you have to wait for complete invalidation, which is basically breaking this swing low and breaking this swing high. If it does start to actually come down after that, like if it actually does start to come down, I will still consider this right here. But once again, it's taken a really long time for this three to form, and it's not very characteristic of it, especially of its degree. We're talking about a minute three. So usually it should really start having some push down. We can take a look at this one. We are still aware of it per se. It's it can still happen. The only thing, like I said, it'd be the same thing actually. We would just come up for that Y, pretty much hit maybe probably this trend line right here, and then basically just come back down. But the only problem with this is we wouldn't really have a clean trend line to break off of like we were expecting, and we go past 1382. But depending how much we go past 1382, like if it's pretty much just comes right here and has an immediate reaction, it won't truly invalidate this count. But if it really breaks past this trend line, then I would say this count would pretty much be completely invalid. So what we can say is, let's say, depending upon the manner it comes down, I'd say right here is pretty much a validation for this count. Once again, we can take a look at this. This one probably would be a little more sense because the earlier one we were taking a look at, this was the one and this was the two. But in this one right here that we're taking a look at, this is the one and this is the two. So this being its own leg by itself would kind of make more sense in how long this two is forming, basically. So I would actually favor this count right now primarily over our main count because with this one, it's this two, and then we're expecting that three, which it should just kind of waterfall down. It's not happening really. We can say yes, this is a corrective two, and we just had back to back corrective twos. It just doesn't really have the right look right now. This one does have the right look because it would be within the same leg. So it would kind of explain, if we did have a pop up right here, I would say it would still make more sense to have this right here as opposed to our main count. But there is another crazy alternative we can't even think of too, where maybe this is even just the four forming. Like maybe this actually was the one in our main. This was the two in our main, the running flat, and we actually just once again are having a weak fifth wave for our C wave. This is pretty probable. It actually is. The only thing that's it assumes a lot, which we don't like to do, and also we don't like having basically a short three and a shorter five on such a higher time frame. Doesn't really happen a lot, but this actually is pretty valid, and it's not something that a lot of people are kind of like looking at too. So that's something that I like to try to do sometimes is when I am trying to see other alternatives when they don't really make sense, like the main counts on the third wave and why it's taking so long to impulse down, or even if we are an A into B into C, it's the same issue. This third wave is just taking long to come down. So the only thing to make sense of this is either we're in a four already, or we are going to be in a one, two, one, two, and really get a push down for three, four, three, four, five. That's really the implications here. Is either it might be a strong 1 2 1 2 building up, engineering liquidity for push down, or once again we already end on a four potentially, where I could actually see this as being a triangle. Doesn't have to be, but it kind of just explain just so much ranging going on. So something like this. I'm not putting too much weight behind this, but once again, it kind of explains things a little bit better in terms of price action and alleyway perspective of why we're stuck in this range for so long continuously. And if we do get a pop up and we just come back down into this range, this is pretty much what we would expect. It is very presumptuous to project a triangle in the middle of a C wave, but once again, we're not putting too much weight behind it. It just explains things a little bit better, a little more cleanly than why aren't we coming down yet for this three? Unless we start to come down. Like I said, if we actually start to come down after we finish this little pop up for that potential two, then we'll be more confident in this. We'll still be more confident in this count right here. It'll just take a little bit longer, maybe than we were expecting. When we were talking about ETH looking a little bit more cleaner, mainly because it just actually hit its target and it looks a little more cleaner as an impulse up. See. So minimally speaking, we at least wanted to hit the point 0.5, ideally the 0.618 for running flat. Kind of was in that middle zone, which makes us a little bit worried, just like how it was with the S&P. How the S&P was just stuck between the point 0.5 and the 0.618. It led us to believe that we were going to get that a little more push up, which we did. And same thing, when we're kind of just stuck in the middle and it's just not a clear tag, even like a 0.1% deviation, it just leads us to be that maybe this move isn't over yet, or it's part of a different leg. So this could actually even be something completely different, which we'll get about into a second. But in terms of the right look, this does have a really good look for a running flat. It looks pretty good for running flat. The only problem is just we need to start seeing that acceleration down. And if it's not a running flat, I'm sorry, actually, it can't be. It actually had to be a regular flat. Now that I'm taking a look at this, let me take it. Let me see. Did it break this? Wow, it did it. Yeah. No, so this would actually have to be a regular flat. So we'd really have to actually expect it to break this point right here. And if it doesn't, then we'd have the same argument with Bitcoin, where this is a W into an X into a Y, where this is basically an A leg. We'll come down for a B, and then we'll pop up for a C. Depending on how high we go, we're not too sure, but this either would have to be actually be a regular flat, and we would expect it to break this, or a WXY. I would put more weight behind the WXY because it would take a long time for this 3 into the 4 into the 5 to form. And once again, it would just not be it wouldn't be a partner leg for this A leg. It'd just be too extended in time. It'd be something completely different. Yeah. So I'd say makes more sense right now. Once again, I don't think it would break the A leg right here. That's why I don't think it is a regular flat. I think it's more likely that this is just a W X to Y. A B C pretty much something like that. The only issue here too is that we could look at this a little bit alternatively, which we are on Bitcoin as well. Is that it could just be a oh wait no I already had that, sorry. I don't think I actually prepared one for Ethereum. The one for Ethereum is the same thing, is that potentially we are impulsing down, but with with this one it's already saying that the A into the B is already done and we're actually coming up for a C already. It's kind of what the same thing is on Bitcoin is right now, because on Bitcoin we pretty much have it completing its B leg as a triangle right now, potentially. Like it's about to complete its E leg for the triangle where it comes down and it pops up. And with this one, we're just saying that Ethereum is a little bit more ahead, where actually this one would actually have the potential to break this W. The only reason why is because it's already halfway past the equilibrium for this W, and this X wave didn't break the origin of the W. So normally with a WXY structure, if the X wave doesn't break the origin of W, it's very likely that this Y wave breaks the origin of W. And if this X leg did break the origin of W, it's less likely for it to break the termination of W. So let's say the X came down like this, then we would expect it not to break it. But since it did not break it, we would expect it to break the termination of W. We can, you know, I'm sure if we pull up our other our levels on our chart, we could probably find some levels up there. But just terms of basic fibs and what we expect for wave C's, we can even actually for a wave, yeah, for wave C, and then for a wave Y, we can try to find some fib confluence here. See what we have. So immediately we can have it go to the 113 that's stacked with the 2236. I normally don't like to see wave C's hit the 2382, the 2618. It is very possible if it's a zigzag though. If it's a flat structure, usually the C leg can't go past this 2236, 22272. But if it's a zigzag structure, which it kind of is already looking like it because this is pretty impulsive, then we actually can see the C leg extend up to this 2618, which would line up cleanly with the 1382, 13414 for our potential Y leg. This will make it easier to help differentiate it. There we go. Immediately we'll look for this if it does pop up here. It's kind of the same issue though, because if this was completed, once again, we really want to start seeing this start to come down. And that might be our leading indicator too, because once again, this does look like it could be a really good running flat structure right here. So if it does start to kind of waterfall down and it breaks this swing low, it might be likely that Ethereum will be our leading indicator that we are coming down. Same argument here for Ethereum too in the larger time frame. It's just how long this is taking. And also just in taking consideration this whole range we're just stuck into, we're not really breaking it. We are in a downtrend per se, but it's just not really, it's taking a while. It's just moving. So if we were to take it into consideration, same argument. If we are in a minute three, we really want to see this start pushing down. Once again, we're not going to really throw this minute three out the door if it actually does start to come down here in the next day. But if it doesn't, I'd say if it doesn't start coming down and breaking these swing lows here within the next day, I say 2 days, then this is probably a little unlikely at this point that we are in a minute three. Might be more likely that once again we're taking a look at the alternatives, the A into the B into the C, because this means this would be its own structure by itself. So we don't have to compare this structure in comparison to this structure right here, like we do on the other counts, where it's a 1 2 1 2, where this can just be the first one to a very complex two, then we come down for the 3 4 5. So this is looking a little bit more likely. The only insinuations with these, once again, is that we're looking at the W X Y X into the Z. This is large implications because this means this move is done after this. We're not coming back down into this territory pretty much until the next cycle, which is probably going to be for a long time. So that's large implications. That means we're going to start the new leg of the new impulse up, and the new primary 1 2 3 4 5. That'll take the next 2 years, maybe 1 year. So up only. That's why it's a large implication because it's saying that we're done with the move. We're done correcting all of this price action up. We've had our fun up there. We corrected it with all this move down, and now it's time to start the new leg up. So it just makes more sense when we're taking a look at once again this structure by itself in comparison to its structure that's completing, like the C leg. It doesn't make sense if this was a 1 2 1 2. I mean, if we were already in the minute three, which is the implications, it just this has the right look in comparison. Is basically what I'm trying to say. It has the better look. It has the right look. Same argument with Bitcoin though is it is taking a while, but the only issue with Ethereum is that it has this such a large window right here to for this flat pattern. Bitcoin pretty much has that small validation window where we have it pretty much set like right here, like 14.5, where it's like pretty much right here. But on Ethereum, man, it could just drop pretty low on this. So we are aware of this, but truly, it's almost the basis for an argument for why this count may be invalid is because how long this is taking in comparison to this. It just doesn't it may mean that this isn't valid and that this is something completely different because of how long it's taking. That's why we have like these time invalidations, and we're aware of average time of completions for certain wave degrees, whether they be a minute or a minor or an intermediate, because it helps us understand like is this really the right count or is this really what's happening right now. That's why we have these arguments and those invalidations and we're aware of them is because of this stuff because it doesn't make sense if this really is coming down for an A into B into a C it's just very extended in time. Even if we did complete right here, I'd be a little bit wary at this point because once again, we're basically just kind of catching fib levels right here. There kind of really is nothing here to catch us. The only thing left is we do have some targets down here, but right here the only thing that catches is basically the Elliott wave pattern and fib levels. Once again, it's the same thing. It's just taking a little bit longer in time in comparison to this leg, really. I think overall, it's more likely the move is still down in comparison to up, like breaking this. And same with Bitcoin. I think it's more likely we are still downtrending instead of uptrending, not just because of clear bearish market structure overall, just because it's just I can't really get to end cleanly from an alleyway perspective, and that has done me well in the past in determining major pivots is getting it to end cleanly, you know. So I do think we are still coming down in that sense, but it's not really clear right now on which count we're experiencing at this point, and that's the only issue. It's the crossroads. That's why I call it the crossroads, because it could be a 50-50 push up, like a minor push up right here, or we actually start coming down. And when we get to those crossroads, once again, it's either best to just sit out of the markets or try practice your scalping, just quick moves in and out. But you might have to see if it's worth it, worth the fees and the time. Nothing's really changed with S&P. Kind of had a little bit of a boring week, but it's coming up to this point here that we're looking for a rejection. So we're still looking at this as a three-way move. We either be an A or a W, a B or an X, or a Y or a C. Right now, we're just looking at it as an A, B, C, just to try to keep things simple. And once again, we are aware of the arguments of how it's not very clean in terms of the subway structure. But from a higher time frame perspective, when we're looking at swings within Elliott wave patterns, it does justify the moves. But we are either seeing right now potentially maybe either that three did come in, like maybe this was the three right here, this was the four. It would be a very short four, but this was a looks like it was a complex sideways two, and this was a sharp four. So in terms of alteration, that would make sense. But this move up looks like it's taking a little bit slow for wave five. Yeah, I could see that though. Actually, this does look like a sharp A B C right here for a wave four. But maybe this is actually a one, two, three, four. We'll come up for a five. It just reject right here instead of popping up. Looks like we did kind of pop up already. Not that high though. Just barely breached it. But it does look like that was a one, two. Maybe that was a three, and we are in the four, like we are looking at on the actual index. And we are to come up for a fifth for this to complete this C. So that's very likely. And it would kind of make sense with once again getting a little minor push up with Bitcoin and Ethereum, then finally dropping down. Like I said, if Bitcoin is in a potential, like let's say WX, or let's see right here, WXY, and we're just waiting for this little push up right here. And all we're waiting for is this little push up right here, and we finally start getting our impulse down we're waiting for. it would kind of put these markets back in line with each other, correlated. We can look at the alternative here for the WXY. Let's see. That's version 2. That's new version 2. Put this, and then here's the more complex one, which would make more sense to me once again just because of how corrective these moves have been. Like this move right here itself, like this move right here was very corrective, and even off the market too in the futures, like it was very corrective right here as well. But I would say that this makes a little more sense because of that correction. We can say they are potentially part of a even a W itself, an X into Y of this Y leg that could be potential. But this C leg is just getting very extended in time in comparison to this A leg. Same argument that we've had on our other assets we're looking at, like Bitcoin and Ethereum. This leg right here is just taking a little bit long in time. That's why makes it a little more cleaner as a 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 from a higher time perspective. If we're just looking at swings in the markets, but it doesn't really justify in terms of subway structure, like building out the actual subway structure in there. So that's why this one would make more sense, but we always want to try to keep things simple if possible. That's why we try to avoid WXYs. And I might even have to label this a WXY of this Y leg itself as well. But we really try to avoid the WXYs and the WXYs because, I mean, at some point, it's got to end. Otherwise, you could have endless WXYs and then a WXY within a WXY within a WXY within a WXY, you know? I mean, and at that point, you really wouldn't know where the market is truly going because honestly, it doesn't really happen like that. And that's why we try to avoid it because it sometimes it is a lot more simple than you see it. And when you look at simple structures, you can trade it a lot more easily than expecting more complex structures. It does help you in terms of not being greedy with the market, but truthfully, WXYs and WXYs with the WXYs, they just don't happen. So I do think we are going to see a rejection basically here. The only thing that worries me is we don't really have any clear levels to kind of reject from up here. I mean, it's even possible we just basically come up here, hit this trend line, just kind of come down because everyone and their mother is watching this trend line. But from an elevated perspective, which we are analyzing, this does look like a clean three-way move right here. Very clean. 1, 2, 3. That's very clean right there. In terms of, like I said, a swing. With that being said, I'm not sure I can really say that this counts is valid anymore. I'm just waiting for it to have some complete invalidation to really delete it, to have an argument to delete it. But basically, because of how corrective this move right here has been, can't really justify this as being a one. Truly, but I'm just waiting for that argument to delete it. Honestly, the invalidation for this is probably at the end of this potential floor that we're looking for. So once it breaks that, I'm happy to delete this. In terms of this, same kind of argument, unfortunately, unless we're in some sort of diagonal that barely breached origin of its one right here. And it doesn't have a very clean look on the bottom. Yeah, even then, I don't even think so. I truly don't. It just, I'm not sure this could be valid. An A. So we're looking for this. Yeah, I think I might have to delete this. Yeah, we're just gonna delete it. It's not valid anymore. That one's definitely not valid. So we're still left with the main counts, which is what we're expecting. The double zigzag, or we're just downtrending in a channel where we had a W, quick X, and we have a Y. Once again, another clean three-wave move from a higher time frame perspective. And it's basically the same thing. I mean, honestly, because if we look even at this or at this, we're both expecting this B leg to end right here at this point. And it would even once again bring this in line with Bitcoin's and Ethereum's movement too, because we're just waiting on that final move down right here, this final impulse down. So it would really bring them back into correlation if they just had that final push up and then just came down and started impulsing down for their final legs. How fast we do it, I mean, it could be till the end of the year. I don't think it'd actually be the end of the year. I think that'd be a little too quick because pretty much right here is when we'd be expecting it. I can't get there. Right here. That seems a little quick. It seems pretty quick if we were going to come down. It's not unlikely. It's definitely possible if this was a very quick two and then we kind of come down in a quick four. I just don't think it'll happen. I think it's more likely we do it after the new year because it is more likely that Powell will not really ease up, but there's potential that the market will take it bullish because even if he stops his rate hikes, that's going to be bullish. We all know he wants to hold it there. And that's the thing, dude. The market is just starving for anything moderately or even minor bullish. Like, I swear, it's just using it as an excuse. But it really isn't. Like him saying he wants to hold rates there. If he does, I mean, I know everyone says he's not going to do it, and I know everyone, I know everyone doesn't believe him, but I believe in Powell this time. I think he's gonna pull a Volkner. I think he's gonna do it. But the issue here is that even if he does hold rates, Marcus is gonna take that bullishly because he's not gonna continue to increase them. So in terms of interpreting this into like the macroeconomic perspective, it is a little iffy seeing this still pushed down, but it makes total sense from a market structure perspective and an alleyway perspective. It truly does. Other than that, if anyone does have any questions, man, yeah, let me know. Let's see. If we do have time, that'd be nice if we could take a look at LTC. It's moving differently. I don't think I've ever really looked at LTC. Let's see. I think I might have taken a few scalps on it, but like actually monitoring it. Let me see. I guess you could call that. I guess we maybe could. I think I would try to have this argument by myself one more time. One, two, one, two. I mean, even I maybe could even force a one, two, three, four, three, four for five. Like I could probably even do that. It'd just be forcing it, but it's definitely possible. It does look pretty impulsive there, Pi. Right there, this leg right here forming. It is moving pretty impulsively. I mean, sure, I could really force this, honestly. But if we were just to ignore, I guess, basically the beginning of it, which I don't really like to do. Three, A, B, D, D, E. That looks like a fat triangle. This looks pretty impulsive for a fifth leg. Eh, honestly, even if we were to try to even finagle a count in here, this even still looks like most of the altcoins where they're in a W, X, Y, X, Z. Just maybe that's Litecoin finally got its pop up and it was just a late bloomer. Dogecoin was a leading one. Litecoin was just a late bloomer. 'Cause this does look like a, you know, it's just a correction for these legs. It's coming down. It still looks like it's got one more coming down. It does look like a WXYXZ if we were to look at it from an LA perspective. It's be A, B, C right there. A, B, C, or even a WXY, but definitely looks like a clean zigzag right here. A, B, C, another zigzag for Y. Complex X. And then yeah, we get that Y leg. I just haven't really looked at Litecoin and followed it in terms of LA wave structure because I think of that nonsense in the beginning. Same with AVAX. I had the same argument with AVAX. I just can't as much as I want to. This nonsense right here, and then once again, breaking below this point right here, just really can't like put a valid LA wave structure on there. If you wanted to obviously do what some do is just pull from zero, say this is one, two, three, four, five. Seen it. It's just not valid to me, and I always try to preach validity. But that is because I'm a in a way purist. I try to really stay by the rules, but that's how you stay ahead of the market as much as possible by sticking to the rules. Because if are loose to the rules or you have too many, exceptions, the count could go a multitude of different ways and go backwards on you so many different times. That's why it's important to have the rules. But it's the same argument, it's just the beginning of the beginning of its life cycle. I just can't really justify any valid LD wave structure. Yeah, it is ridiculous. Yeah, that's what I'm talking about. The concept of the unorthodox wave one, or I'm sorry, no, that's not what I'm talking about. Even um, what I'm talking about is the imaginary one. That's what they call it. There really is no. Once again, I think the first rule I would ever stick by with Elliott Wave is that two can never break the origin of one. That's why we have to entertain the idea or the arguments of an imaginary one, or just chalk up this whole price action into just the the market figuring out its intrinsic value for this asset, and then once it has determined a base value, it starts to actually make an Elliott wave structure, which could be possible. There's that argument as well. So it's basically two arguments. One is imaginary one. The two is it's just the assets figuring out its intrinsic value before the market. But yeah, definitely. I would say the number one rule is wave two cannot go below the origin of wave one. Actually, this brings up a good point here. When I was talking about the right look, I think I did want to go over this really quickly because the right look is kind of important. It helps us determine if it makes sense. So this is the one that we've been kind of following right here. It's pretty much this, where it's A, B, C into W, add a quick X, and we're having another A, B, C for this Y. This one is one we have been aware of. Once again, it's still on the table. We're just not putting much weight to it because there's no validation for it at all yet. This one is one we're aware of for two reasons. Because this could still just be a, let's see, where we're trying to put it. There we go. Where this is just a one, two, three, four. Then we have a five. Because this could just still be a one, two, three, four, five. The reason why I'm going over this because this has the right look in terms of taking into consideration of the larger time frame perspective. Even taking this in consideration, it really does have the right look. But this one right here doesn't really have the right look on in terms of like taking in consideration the higher time frame perspective. I do like how it's twice as long as the corrections we've experienced within its cycle, and that's why it is likely, but it doesn't have the right look in terms of the actual overall swing structure and market structure. It's still very valid. It just doesn't have the right look. That's why I think it's very possible this one does have the right look. But once again, these are just large implications, and also we shouldn't really kind of be projecting this much in the future. But it does help us understand if this is the right count or not the right counts, because we talk about validity and then the right look and then probability, because first we go off valid and then we go off the right look if it does look right, and then probability, we have our invalidations and time invalidations. But really this one does have the right look, even if this was a one, two, three, four, five, because this really does look like a one, two, three, four, five right here. This leg, it really does look like that. Does look like a clean impulse down, and that has implications for the next move. Whether this is a leg right here, and we come up for B or C, or if this was a one, two, three, expanding flat four, and then we come up for a five, because it would make sense if this was just a C leg for the expanded flats, where we had an A, B, C, where that C leg is always one, two, three, four, five. I know a lot of people haven't looked at this count anymore and they're kind of throwing it out because of how long this has been. But if we take that consideration with this two, I mean, the four can be like up to 4 to 6 times larger than the two. This one's only about, I think, twice the length, just a little over twice. So honestly, it really can go to 4 times the length of time. So this kind of still very valid, and it kind of fits in the picture of, like I said, this piece right here. This piece fits within this piece. It fits a lot better, has the right look as opposed to what we're looking at right here. It is valid. It just doesn't have the right look when we're looking at the higher time frame perspective, really. Yeah, while I'm here, I'm probably gonna do the same thing with Bitcoin. I'm just gonna update this because really this makes more sense that this is a WXY instead of pushing up for an impulse for a C, where this is basically an A, not a 1. A, B, C. So again, this B leg can be a triangle here too, because if this is a zigzag right here, which is an A, B, C, because we had a one, two, three, four, five, an extended fifth wave of this A leg. We got a one, two, three, four, five. This B can be any correct pattern, especially triangle. So if it's zigzag, a B wave can be any correct pattern, anything at all, like you name it. But if it's a flat, normally this B leg can only be a zigzag or a zigzag family. So like a potential double zigzag or even a triple zigzag. But this does look like a clear triangle pretty much forming right here. I mean, it's just ranging. Either it's a 1 2 1 2 or it's a triangle, which we are aware of the 1 2 1 2. Once again, we could still see what we're expecting, that little minor push up, and then we start coming down for our final impulse, or start the move for our final impulse. A, B, C, D. Does have good symmetry too. Could even see New York bring it up. You see London or Asia reject it right here. Then New York bring it up. It's a pretty good looking triangle, honestly. Like turn like just how long it's taking. Like it has good proportions. That's what I'm trying to say. Actually, it has good proportions in terms of its legs. That's the differentiator right here, is that this one's not done and this one is done. Or it was a WXY, where we had a triangle for the Y, which is kind of rare, but it does look like a clean corrected pattern right here. Just like how on Ethereum it has a clean looking running flat structure, this one does look like a clean combo, clean three wave corrective combo right here. And then once again, this brings us back to what we're talking about, the crossroads. We're stuck in a tight invalidation range where the only true confirmation on the move is just breaking. Honestly, I'd say right here. But even then, we might even have to chalk. We could even potentially even chalk this up to a W, X, Y, and it could still even not even break this origin. And still come down. So as a ultimate, like final validation, I'd say right here, breaking these zones right here will kind of give us an idea of the direction that we're looking for. So if it does break up past this zone, it's more likely that we are going to impulse up for this C leg right here, for this Y to finish and move up. And if we break down past this area, it's more likely that we completed WXY over here and we can still follow the main count. Just due to how long it's been ranging, I think we still have that bullish divergence, that large bullish divergence too. But I mean, it did give us this pop up already. It's just a matter of is this pop up over yet? I don't think. I think it's more likely that we will pop up. It's kind of being supported on the RSI, the triangle. I do like to see that a lot, or evidence of it, even if it does have a minor little pop up for this D leg. Okay, so just pop up like right here, and then come down. Still be A, B, C, D, E. Would be a good confirmation for this move up. I do think, due to this ranging and this consolidation right here at this level, it is a little more likely that we would see a push up if we are to if we are to choose a direction. Trading it would be a different story. I would basically look for these trend lines right here with this A, B, C, D, E. So if this was an A, it's B, C, D. Depending on where this D leg is. Let's see. Where's the 618? 0.4. Yeah, it's worth it for me. Do we have anything we can play up with there? Yeah, right there. Bang, that's right on the 382 as well. Got a naked level on the 3, 4, and 4. Could be another take profit area. So yeah, if I were to take this, let's see, where are we looking for the here? Here we go. A. There we go. There's a wave C. Let's just put this in white. I've got to put this different shade just to understand. So this is going to be, this is our 2, our overall large 2, but it's a minute degree and it's white, but this submenu is white too. So I don't want to change the color. I want to be aware of the larger degree. Sometimes the help me differentiate them too is I'll make the larger degree larger, like in terms of length too, to help me understand. So we'll do the same thing here. So this is a shorter, so it means it's part of a smaller degree. Actually, given that we have made it shorter, let's just bring this back to the white. I can still differentiate it just because of the length now. But let's see. This is going to be, fuck, this has to be white too because it's B. It's part of the B wave. That was our potential 2, but we're gonna get rid of it because it looks more likely that this is an A to B instead of a 1 into a 2. Just depends on where this D leg ends. I think it does have a little more push up. It'll probably pop up. Pretty much all I'd be waiting for is just a clean three-wave move down. Once I start seeing this pivot done and this pivot done, I'll be waiting for this to finish right here and getting in. And I'll probably even, like I said, just get in on the 618. Really don't like placing it a little bit larger than a like I usually for me usually I like to only point 0.3 point 0.4s, but to be safe I might even have to just do a less larger trade and just place it right below the C leg. But it'd still be a good trade to take due to the risk versus reward. 11.93. I mean, it's pretty good risk versus reward. And once again, we do have some levels up here. Pretty much already took this daily order block right here, so we could just take that away. I think this is a 30-minute order block right there. Yeah, I'd say this is once again it does align with what we're expecting for the S&P too. Okay, so S&P we're seeing it in a potential wave 4, and then just a little push up for a wave 5 to finish its Y of a minor B. Then it's comes down for its wave 3 or wave 1 of 2 of 3 of 4 and 5. Like to finish out its move down. So this, I mean, it just makes sense to me in terms of aligning it with other assets here. Well, let's see. Anybody got any questions? Macro deep to Bitcoin. Yeah, I mean, when you take a look at like if we did complete the cycle, it makes sense. And honestly, like I was trying to say too, like the corrections, like the length of this correction has been twice the length of the prior corrections that we've received too. So that is another argument to say that yeah, we have actually completed a cycle due to the length of this correction. Because usually the other ones are like 365 days, about a year long. So like if you look at, I guess we could put it in daily. No, that's not a big deal. We'll just do it this way, just to put in visual perspective. So here's one. That's the first correction, basically the first major correction. Here's the second major correction, which it pretty much is almost the same time. And then if you take a look at this one, it's gonna reach the about to reach the same time frame. So we have the first argument for it being done right here, or it's the beginning of just the first leg where this is a one, two, three, four, five, and this cycle wave two is going to be twice as long than the other corrections because it's a higher degree and it's a cycle. I think it's more likely this, to be honest, and it just makes more sense because of that. But if we did end it right here, I wouldn't mind it. I'm ready for another bull market. But yeah, I think I mean in terms of like the Elliott wave structure and characteristics, usually this this cycle correction would take longer than the previous corrections within the cycle that it is correcting essentially because it's of the higher degree. But notice you keep your chart and log for a higher time frame. You have a difference in charting and log and the normal. Aren't proportions affected? Yeah, of course. If we're looking at long-term perspective, though, like anything above, like if we're basically looking at like cycles, I mean that's the best way to put it by itself. You have to take a look at it in logarithmic view. Truly, I do touch on it too in my my LA Wave cheat sheet here. I'm just gonna drop it here in the boardroom. There is a print version too. I don't think we have released yet or shown. I think that's my fault, but here there are some points in there that I talked about. The reason for using log versus arithmetic regular. But if we're looking at it in real time, like we were earlier, like if we were looking at like price action in real time, then we want to look at it on a linear scale, which is not on log, because it's gonna follow. It's a lot better. It's a little hard to explain. I've had this conversation with a few people, and it's like it's one of those things where everyone just goes with it because they know it. It's like it's the right answer and it makes sense, but it's hard to explain. But it's more in terms of like on a percentage basis too, because when we look at the entire, because when we're looking at a higher time frame analysis, we're taking in consideration the whole asset's life cycle, and we're trying to look at it on a like almost a percentage basis as well. But when we're looking at it in just a short time frame right here, we're not taking in consideration its whole life cycle. We're just taking literally a piece of its portion and just trying to trade this puzzle right here, just this piece of price action. So that's the main difference between using log and using linear, is the what you're taking into consideration. Hey Larry, if it is an impulse down to into wave one from all time high in Bitcoin, is a third being smaller than one a concern? It is only if it's parts of a wave three. If it's part of a wave one or a five, I mean, that does happen a lot sometimes with wave ones and fives, but it's just not very likely. It does signal exhaustion in the move, like it's market's ready to start a new trend in a different direction, and start a different direction, but it doesn't really it doesn't give off any more concern than a normal than the usual concerns of it being smaller, if that makes sense. Like it's already concerned of itself being smaller, but it doesn't give us any normal alerts than it would because of where it is right now in its current price action. If it was in the middle of a wave three, then yeah, I would definitely be raising some red flags. But right now, I'd say it's just a yellow flag, if that makes sense. But anyone else have any other questions? Or want me to check anything else real quick? I think I got some time for a few more questions here if anyone does have any more questions. 5WXY. Even on some of these alts too, I'm not super confident on these counts, but it's valid in a sense if we are taking consideration some of the arguments that we were discussing earlier. In most of these counts, I am taking into consideration the argument of that imaginary one, essentially, because everything afterwards, it we can fit it into a valid count. But that's the reason why I don't feel too confident on them, is because of those arguments that we have to take into consideration. But for like the assets that we have been tracking, like Bitcoin and Ethereum and the S&P, like the major assets, yeah, I definitely feel pretty confident in what we're expecting. What's this? WYX. Let's see. I think I've given up on dot because it just doesn't make sense right now at all. I think I did want to show gold. I don't know if I did update my account though, but I did want to do a stream on gold here in the commodities here. And honestly, I do want to get some. I do actually want to spend like maybe a few minutes here getting some ideas from you guys because I'm not sure if you guys want to. Dot doesn't make sense. Well, um, I kind of want to get you guys' feedback. Like, what do you guys want to see from like in like if you had access to somebody who just knows a lot about Elliott Wave and applying it, and even just other market methodologies too, because I know a lot of other strategies and market methodologies out there. I might put out a survey or even get some ideas from you guys right now. Like, what do you want to see moving forward? Like what would you want me to do? Like, what do you really want to see moving forward? Like, do you want to keep seeing like market overviews, or would you rather see like trade setups from an early perspective, or would you rather me focus more on stocks or crypto or commodities, or like do mix? Like, I definitely want to make sure I'm giving you guys what you want. I definitely want to keep doing at least what I maybe can start doing is at least posting market overviews and technical analysis, like posting my counts and technical analysis, maybe putting some information on the charts to explain the reasons for the counts, and then maybe we can focus like our streams on something a little more productive, because these counts are definitely something I can post in the technical analysis or post, and it's easily to just take a look at them and derive the information. But maybe we can use these streams for something a little more constructive where people can learn a little bit more. Did I miss Dot? No, I just was talking shit about Dot. Let me take a look here. Did I miss Dot? It's it's hilarious. Let me try to take a look at Dot here one more time. Let me see. So we've got it in expanding flats for a two. That makes sense. One, two. Here's the first argument we were taking a look at is blatant, is how long this correction is that one. Let's just ignore it for right now. So one, two, one, two. Here's where things just get tricky. So three, four. So this is a five, three. Maybe a running flat. It didn't even hit the point five, I don't even think. Yeah, it's like front ran it. Ah, that's the only thing that I could really do is force it into a basically say this is a, that was a B, and then this is a C. Or it does look like maybe this was an ending diagonal right here. We're an A, B, C for the one, two, three, four, five. The only issue is it just front ran the point five, and normally it really does have to hit the point five. But I mean, it is an altcoin, but it is one of the large caps, so I would expect it to at least follow the rules a little bit more than an asset that's a low cap or mid cap. I think that's the only thing that would, unless let's see, W X. Nah, it'd still be the same thing. think that's what I'd have to do. So what we had to call this an A to B. Now the only issue is getting this into. I guess we could call it a man. This is why I hate looking at dot. I might have to spend some time alone with dot. A, B, C, A. That'd just be such a short C. Well, it'd be forcing it too, because I'd really have to call this an A, B, C, I think, for a W. Call this an X. A, B, C for Y. I think that's the only thing that could really make sense here. But let's see. I want to set 3, 4, 3. July? That'd be a long, minute wave. I'm not sure that's even valid. Time wise. Oh, Pi. Why did you put me through this, man? I think I had to force it. I'd have to force it. Like in terms of time wise, which I guess is fine. As long as the structure is there. I guess that's more important to me is the actual structure. But I think the only issue is we'd have to either degrade it or expect this forward to come still. That's the only issue that I'm seeing. Oh man, yeah, this one's tough. Can't even call it a valid triangle either. Yeah, this one's tough, man. I think I might have to still play around with it, but I think it'd have to force the running flat idea here, where this was an A, that was a B, that was a C for a super weak running flat. Potential setups based on alleyway would be a great idea to post it in trade setups. Yeah, I could just, I guess, continue to do that. But sometimes I like talking through it. But yeah, I could start doing that and trade setups and start doing the market overviews and technical analysis. I just want to try to spend these times on stream a little more productive moving forward if we can. And I definitely want to adhere to you guys if you guys have any like requests. Can we take a look at Matic? We can take a look at Matic. W X Y 2, 3, 4, 5 A W X Y B. Okay, let's take a look at the real quick. It's pretty much same thing. We're expecting that final push down for that C leg. We're looking for an impulse down. Got that immediate bounce up that we were looking for a lot quicker than expected. The only issue, I think, do I have a low time frame count on this? Don't. Do I? Not really. Not really fleshed out. Let's take a look though. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. This one, 2. Just get rid of that noise. This was the okay. Now I see the issue we were having with this last time we were looking at it. We would have to call this multiple 1, 2, 1, 2, 1, 2s, or a potential diagonal. This could just been a, and we couldn't. I think the last time we tried to do a diagonal too, it didn't really make sense in terms of. I guess it could be an expanding Nah, it wouldn't even be expanding diagonal. We might even have to just force a diagonal at this point because we'd have to try to figure out. Let's see, 1, 2. Let's see another 1, 2, 2, or 1, 2. Running flat 2. Oh man, I think we might have to force a diagonal here. Where that was a 1. Actually, most likely have a micro, because if we're trying to get a push down here, where'd that 3 go? There we go. See, I think I usually wouldn't with any other assets like major, but I think I might allow this overlap right here. Unless this already looks like it expanded pretty big though. Probably went past the 1382. Yeah, I went well beyond it. Yeah, I'd have to say this was we hit the force diagonal right here. That was a 2. Hit a 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. It's the same kind of argument I'm having though with Bitcoin and Ethereum. I guess if it is a 1, 2, 1, 2, maybe it, the nesting 1, 2, 1, 2s do take time, and they don't look like a 3 until it finally starts that waterfall effect that everyone knows a 3 to be, where it just pushes down strong. So there, it could be a 1, 2, 1, 2 here. And that could be the reason for some of these alts stalling. A, B, C, D, E. Looks like another triangle forming right here. Also, shout out to Pi since he showed me this right here. I've been loving this. Just using one color. Oh man, it's made my life so much easier. And with this too, it's almost the same movement that we're expecting on Bitcoin and Ethereum, but we're just looking for this leg to finish out right here. This move right here. We either on Bitcoin, this is a B C for a Y. For this asset, it's just an ABC for a two. So once again, a little bit more confluence, like with another asset that we're just expecting the same type of movement, and there's justification for how we can get there. In terms of it being a different count, that's not a big deal. Still something that we're expecting, but now we'd have to just take a look at some levels that would have like any TPO levels, or if you use any ICT levels or whatnot, whatever you use in your other analysis to kind of gauge levels that you expect to be respected, because we use LA for the roadmap, the direction. We can use fibs as a basic form of entry and take profit, but we usually like to find other levels of confluence to stack. We like to have stacked confluence. So if you do Chartmatic a lot, then definitely just take a look at price action up here and try to find some levels that you can reference, whatever they may be, and see if they align with any of these fib levels that you can pull. And the only fib level that you really have to pull is basically just starting from here to here to get the whites right here, so you can find out where the two is going to end. Because we're looking at this as a 1, 2, and this 2 is correct. Actually, I'm sorry. You have to pull from right here. So from here to there, and then to pull the A, you basically just pull from right here to right here. But yeah, Matic, I can definitely see it push up right here. But there still has one more tiny push up for his D leg, just like with Bitcoin, before it comes down for E, and then comes up. Regardless, I can see this push up happening right here. They might even protect this high right here, this New York high. Hit the equilibrium, the 0.5, just come down. And even with this, I mean, 50-50s are tough, but this is this is probably one of the better 50-50s just because the invalidations are pretty quick. Like you don't have a I mean if you do want to take a look at it in terms of like hardcore validations, yeah, I mean obviously we could say this. I mean it's obviously very unlikely for this to come down here and be even expanding flats already. It's more likely, like I said, that we're in this type of three-way pattern. What this does present you was once again the crossroads, either on Bitcoin if it is gonna come up or not. But regardless, it's one of the good crossroads trades because the margin is just small if you are kind of a somewhat of a swing trader. Like the risk that you're gonna the risk versus reward is definitely worth it right here. Another 10 right there. I mean Bitcoin I think it was 12 or 11.93. But the point being is that even if it's a crossroads, it's still a good trade. It may not be a clear trade to take, but it's a risk that I'd be willing to take at least for the gain right here. mean, shit. It's already contracting so much already as is. You might even have to. I might even just put it on the 0.382. If it was me, wait for that pop up. Take this high right here. So it form its A, B, C for the D leg, and then just come down. I mean, this one actually, now that I am looking at it, is a little bit tricky because technically speaking, it can break this trend line, hit that 618, still come up and be valid as long as it doesn't break the origin of the C. It's very unlikely, very unorthodox like, but possible. I mean, it's something we can't ignore. It just doesn't happen very often. The only issue with that is it presents a lot of risk at this point. So normally we would want to look for the 618, but it's already below the trend line. So now you're expecting a break below the trend line. But then if it breaks the trend line, you're not as confident that this is truly a triangle pattern from an alleyway perspective. Best thing to do here probably would just be ladder in if you did want to trade this. Just ladder in your ladder in positions. Because Matic has had crazy swings where even though it may not seem much, this is already 2% right there. Almost 2%. Granted, it is, you know, 7 times. That's still a lot of risk right there. But it's because this asset's been swinging hard. Even this leg right here is just 16%. Pretty much almost expect the same out of this second leg, the same strength, at least at 10%. Just bag hold and take the pain. Oh man, it better just bag hold and then turn off the or just delete your trading view account and never look at it for a year or two at that point. So in terms of 1 2 1 2 waves, are they like part of a wave? For example, if there's 2 and 1 2s as a start of an impulse, would you count them as a wave before correction? I'm not sure if I let me try reading this one more time. So in terms of 1 2 1 2 waves, are they like part of a wave? For example, if there's 2 of 1 2s as a start of an impulse, would you count them as a wave before a correction? Trying to I might need visual representation on that, but the only best way I can say answer your first part is they are part of a wave. The only implication of the wave 2 or 1 2 1 2 is that you expect um, an extreme thrust is what we basically call it. So like a normal wave three, it's like a 1 2 1 2 3 4 5, and that was your one. That was a two. Here's your three. And then with like a 1 2 1 2, this is your one. That's your two. This is your one. That's your two. You get like an extreme push up, like hard push up, where it's almost non-existence of any kind of retrace in here. It's basically minimal retraces. And then you basically come up for your 3 4 3 4. that almost mimic the same kind of time and length and structure wise as the 1212. This second 1212 is usually very similar in time and strength and structure as the first one too. That's kind of one of the characteristics that help understand if it is a 1212, if it's almost the same exact strength, structure, and time, and also if it doesn't break the KC trend line. It's just a matter of the strength of the three that you expect. When a 1212 setup, the strength of the three is more prominent. But for your second part of your question, I'm not sure if I can understand really clearly to make sure I'm answering it correctly. I might need like a visual aid, or we might have to talk about it. Just saw this image about Fed pivots, dumps happening after they pivot, but it looks more like a coincidence to be honest. Let me take a look. That's actually kind of interesting. Now I'm looking at this buy. Psychologically speaking, you would expect the opposite, right? I might have to actually take a look at this and see if that's true. I might actually pull up the pull it up myself. Yeah, maybe I could use some time for my fit pulls too, because I usually do kind of like a scalp pull. I don't really use trend based fit pulls for my alley wave, but like, can a 1212 be considered as a wave one? No, it can't. It's got to be 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. I mean, it could be a 1212 of a wave one. That's possible. But wave ones are the least likely wave to have an extension. Yeah, no, you can't. You can't do that. That's a no-no. Elliot did talk about somewhat of this, what he called building an A B base, meaning A is an alpha and B is in Bravo, an A B base, which you can look up. I actually don't agree with it at all. That's one of the things I don't agree with. Actually, there's two things I didn't agree with his book was the A B base, and that's logarithmic scale clearly explains inflation. Those are the two things I did not agree with his book. But any other questions, real quick? Anybody else else? Or I mean, I'm not sure if I can take a look at another asset, but if anybody does have any quick questions, let me know real quickly for sure. Oh, thanks, bye. Appreciate it. I would argue M1 from a trader or investor perspective. It would basically signal to an investor or trader that they did it. They beat inflation. They feel like they did enough work, and it's time to just let loose off the brake and let the market put on the gas pedal again and just bamboos up. No retrace again needed. DXY looks like a little lower than new highs, opposite to assets somewhat. I still need to take a look at the dominance theory. I do see a lot of confluence that the boys like Cypher and Random and Hank and others using with tether dominance versus major pivots. there's always so much, so many different theories and so little time to make decisions and and really take an evaluation everything. But I definitely hope you guys had a good time. I hope you had a even better Thanksgiving. I hope you guys have some good leftovers, some good turkey, even pumpkin pie, some leftovers to snack on here. But once again, if you guys ever have any questions, always feel free just to ping me anytime. I'm always going to try to answer them as quickly as I can for sure. But I guess I might even ask Bongman just to create um a channel just for Elliott Wave counts, so I can just only I have access to, and I can just post my Elliott Wave counts, so that way it's easy to keep track of. And like I said, that way I can spend more time on stream on other stuff that's a little more in depth instead of just continuously going over these overviews. I mean, we are aware of the overviews, but it'll save us more time and give me more time to, like I said, be a little more in depth and specific. So I'll see if we can do that. But if you guys ever have any ideas too, I'm always open to some any feedback or criticism. Definitely feel free to message me privately or publicly. I mean, even if you guys want to start a discussion boardroom, I'm happy to just take a look at it too. But definitely let me know. Hope you guys have a good Sunday and thanks for hanging out with me. Have a good day, guys.